welcome to the Granville Exempted Village School District Board of Education meeting, May 18th, 6:32 in the boardroom. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take the roll, please.
Dr. Cormer?
Here.
Ms. D?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Dr. Rentel?
Here.
Mr. Janice may be joining us later. He is on a plane due in Columbus by 7, so we'll see.
Commendations.
All right, great. Okay, tonight we begin our commendations this evening by talking about the Ohio Governor's Youth Art Exhibit that was held in March. Regional judging was done, and 2 Granville High School students, Colton Pizzo and Chase Rogerson, advanced to that state judging. Colton's drawing of a rabbit was selected for the exhibition at the James A. Rhodes State Office Tower in Columbus, which I tend to be at frequently these days. And Chase actually brought his piece to share with everybody tonight. So congratulations to both of these wonderful artists. And Chase, come on up and share your photograph with everybody. And maybe
this was one of my projects in art, actually my first one. The idea behind it was that we had to select a concentration. Mine was animals, and the first one I chose was a parrot. This one is an acrylic on canvas, and with this piece, actually, I just kind of spontaneously decided that in each of my pieces, I would be adding some sort of surreal aspect to the animal. And this one, you can see his feathers are kind of turned into paint and dripping down on the ground. That's all.
Excellent. Congratulations. Oh, did I do that?
Sorry, no one ever did this anyway.
Yeah.
Or at least, yeah, but you I'm like half in.
Congratulations. I have to say, I'm always impressed with our artists. I was an expert at stick figures in high school and still am. So I'm always amazed at the talent that our students have. Next, we have our GIS 4th and 5th grade archery team that competed at the Nationals in Louisville, Kentucky earlier this month and qualified for Worlds. The team had qualified for the Nationals at the National Archery in Schools Ohio State Archery Tournament held at the Arnold Fitness Classic. I'm sure that was interesting for all of you to participate in. We have several members of the team, but tonight we have Michael Sarah, who placed 4th in the state in the 5th grade male division with a score of 277 and hit 12 bullseyes. Is that correct? And we also have the coach, Frank Foster, Meredith Irvin, and Coach Foster's daughter, Wilson, correct? So congratulations, archery team. And I believe, when are Worlds?
Worlds is July 23rd through the 25th in Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow. All right. Come on up, coaches. And then this is for the rest of the team. Okay. So let's take a picture with the team. Yeah, I know.
Right here.
That's not usually.
All right. Thank you.
All right, next we are going to be recognizing the Lexicon of Sustainability Award winners. This is a collaboration between students in the environmental science class with the teacher Jim Redding and the visual communications teacher and class that is taught by Jennifer Kinsley, which is actually a CAP class through CTEC. And the Granville High School, along with several of the students from CTEC, won the Most Innovative in Education Award from the Lexicon of Sustainability Project Localized Awards. Now, I will actually defer to Mrs. Kinsley, who's in the audience somewhere. There you are. And Josiah Gastineau, who is actually a Utica student. So this is the first time the Granville Board has recognized another student from another school district. So Josiah, you're a first. Congratulations, but I think that partnership that you guys formed really showed in the products that you produced, and obviously the Lexicon group really felt that you guys did a fantastic job, and you can talk a little bit about where you're heading tomorrow. So we have many, actually Chase was a part of the project as well. We have many students from Granville that were researchers, interviewers, and designers, and then the group from the CAP class as well. So Jennifer, come on up and you can talk a little bit about your products, and Josiah as well.
So Lexicon of Sustainability, it's a nationwide thing and it's based in California, and Granville High School was one of the 30 schools across the nation that got selected, so that was pretty, that's an honor. And it was Mr. Redding's class that got selected to do this project, but we had to design a poster, so we decided to combine the classes. So the students of Redding's class did the research and they found the businesses, and then they came to us and we collaborated and we did the posters. So it was really cool for both classes because we got the experience of working with a client, so it was a real world scenario. We got to sit down with the other students, and each designer had a group of 3 students from the other class, and we went back and forth. We stayed after school a couple times and worked on it. So it was really good for both classes. So we got the honor of it, and then Lexicon picked our class for that award for doing that, combining the 2 classes. So that was pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. That's a great idea. There you go. There's a pin. Congratulations. Now, this is not a Utica pin, but it's a Granville Excellence pin. So very proud of it, okay? Appreciate it. So come on over here.
This is the poster that Josiah's team worked on, and actually Chase's team worked on one for Snapshots of Sustainability, and because we were a rather unique award, we weren't a single artist or single team award, we were an award for the collaboration of 2 schools. They selected 3 posters to go to Washington, D.C. The Resilience with Charlie's Organic Apple Farm, the Snapshots of Sustainability, which was Chase's poster. And Chase, I apologize it didn't get over here, but there's a little mini poster of all of the 7 that we did, and his is right on there. And then the Food Miles by Corinne Higgins, also of Utica High School, that features the student garden and the food that is served at the high school, is the 3rd poster that's going to Washington, D.C. with us.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck. We have one more group. Finally, we're going to recognize both the GHS and GMS FCCLA qualified students for the state contest and national competition this summer. Alexandria Mazik, Rowan Yeager won 2nd place at the state conference and were selected to represent Granville Middle School at the National FCCLA Leadership Conference in Washington, D.C., July 5th through the 9th. Their chapter service display project was the GMS Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America Fuel Up to Play 60 Breakfast Grant Project. Alex and Rowan helped write the grant and also helped determine what smoothie machine to purchase for the GMS GHS cafeteria. The smoothie machine has been a big hit. Students have purchased over 2,000 smoothies in April alone. So that's pretty cool. Smoothies are a big hit. Hopefully the Village Coffee House is not taking a hit from that smoothie machine. From Granville High School, Debbie Bigley and Isabella Yeager received the Gold Award and finished in the first place at the state FCCLA competition, and they will move to national competition as well. Debbie competed in the area of Teach and Train with her Fruit and Veggie Ninjas project. Her goal was to improve the fruit and veggie consumption among various age groups for a healthier lifestyle. She conducted veggie tasting and nutrition lessons and also presented nutrition demonstrations to each of the second grade classrooms at Granville Elementary School. Isabella and Debbie did a joint project in the category of chapter service portfolio in cases, toiletries, and tabs, oh my, partnering with the Columbus Children's Hospital and the Ronald McDonald House. They organized the construction of 202 pillowcases to brighten the hospital rooms and collected pop tabs for the Ronald McDonald House to turn into cash to buy supplies. The third part of the project was collecting hotel-sized toiletries for parents to use at the Ronald McDonald House. Congratulations and good luck at the national competition. Come on up, guys. Don't be shy. And you guys are taking pictures here. You can pick up your hardware at the end. Thank you. Congratulations. Here, I'll stand right here. We'll face that direction. You guys. I can't tell.
You do nice things happen. Cynthia Barber, would you step in for the picture of the website? Thank you very much. Okay, my turn. Definitely. Just a squish, a little squish. There we go. Thank you. That's great.
I'll throw down the gun. Whoever gets that on Facebook first, wins an extra prize. Congratulations to all of our Foundation Award winners tonight. Thank you. Now, you are more than welcome to stay. However, the board is going to conduct the rest of their business, and usually people run. Yeah, it was great, Katie. So you will not hurt our feelings, but you are more than welcome to stay.
I was going to say flee.
Flee.
Yeah.
Well, yes. I was thinking run for the hills. And, hey, get a hug. Congratulations.
Thanks, Christine. Take care. Congratulations, Chase.
Does it feel
Still sort of in shock.
What's your mileage?
I think it seems to be a little more, just a few away from perfection.
Yeah, that's Thank you.
I'm not sure who else. That's the special education gaps. Yeah. I don't know if they were.
No, I think they talked about it. And David said that
Okay.
Hurricane Alex, that's a really good thing.
yes.
All right.
I'm so happy to see you.
Next, that takes us to our staff reports, and Mr. Sexton is getting all queued up. Let me basically set the stage for his presentation. A couple of months ago, we were notified by our learning management system provider that they were no longer going to support My Big Campus. So we have been working to find a replacement. Mr. Sexton's going to walk you through kind of the process that we used. but he's going to show you the new tool that we have identified as our learning management tool, and it is called Schoology. So, Mr. Sexton.
We didn't get a copy of this, right? So I should turn around.
Yes, yes.
I placed one in SharePoint.
In SharePoint, okay.
Yeah.
SharePoint for you, so you can review it whenever you like. Mr. Brown summed it all up. That's about it.
That is not it.
Oh, okay. Well, last time I was here, I don't know if this is a bad omen or not, but I was giving, kind of an update on my big campus. So,
We're solid here with this.
anyway, so.
I hear technology changes.
Yeah.
Fast.
So, a little bit of background about about what happened. I came into work one day and got this email, and you get emails from Lightspeed I do at least, Lightspeed all the time, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I didn't really think much of it. And then later on, I spent some time, actually read through the entire email, and just kept reading, just couldn't believe what I was reading, and they essentially said that they're doing away with my big campus, and I immediately, like, my heart kind of dropped, and I thought about all us, but then all these millions of students and teachers out there that are using this worldwide, and I just couldn't believe it. But things change, finances change, so got that announcement. Next step was to inform the leadership team, saying, hey, heads up, let's start planning. Our next steps here, see what we need to do. We formed the LMS Learning Management System Search Committee, and I want to thank Ryan Burnett for facilitating that, because typically I facilitate them, and then I never really, I try to stay neutral through the whole time, but with Ryan doing it, gave me an opportunity to really voice my opinion, really dig into it. So. Thanks to Ryan for that. So the search committee, our initial step was to establish our key features, our key criteria that we wanted. So we established our rubric for kind of weeding out the different systems out there. We created a tentative timeline, and then we identified 11 LMS options. And where these 11 came from was actually statewide. There is a listserv that I'm a part of that really anybody can be a part of, but it's all technology related. And there were many schools out there discussing this for months. So I compiled all of those along with some feedback from the staff and came up with the 11. So we then took that rubric, sent it out to the 11, and the ones we got back, the highest ones that had all the checks. We didn't really anticipate any of them having all the checks, but 3 that came back and did. So Schoology, Canvas, and D2L, Desire to Learn, were the 3. So, and we had high expectations for all 3. D2L is Carmen at Ohio State, and Canvas is at Stanford and Harvard. So there's pretty big names out there. And Schoology is 90 million users, so substantially bigger than my big campus, and that's throughout the United States and the world. So we reviewed the options. We had the 3 companies present to the LMS committee. Some flew in from DC, some came in from Indiana, and some just did like a WebEx with us. We sent the demo logins. We sent a teacher, student, and parent, one of each type, of all 3, out to all of the committee members. We visited with the World Class Education Committee and gave a presentation of all 3 and presented them with parent logins so they could see it from that point of view. And then we also put it out to all the students, K-12. So the teachers put it in front of the students, and they were able to kick the tires on it. see what they liked, didn't like, and we got their feedback. And then Mike's favorite option, cost, was also a big factor. So with all of that in mind and all that feedback, we selected Schoology because we had it narrowed down. We eliminated D2L and we had Canvas and Schoology, and Schoology ended up being one that kind of rose to the top with all those and cost factored in together. So this is kind of where we are at this moment in time. So next steps, build the environment. So I'm working every day to get Schoology.granvilleschools.org active and ready so that all the staff can log in. We're establishing the process to get the My Big Campus content that our staff have created into Schoology. We have leadership training this Thursday, so a little bit of pressure, get it all ready so they can at least log in. So that's Thursday. We're going to train them for about an hour, just kind of get their feet wet with it. And then team leader training, that's on June 4th. So we're going to dive into it there, get that started. And then we're going to have additional summer training options for everyone to come in addition to the beginning of the school, those initial 4 days. We don't know where they're going to lie in those 4 days, but we're going to have something within those 4 days on a variety of different topics from within Schoology. So here are some of the key features: assignments, calendar, text. Text. Yeah, obviously you have text. That should say test. But you can do text as well. Quizzes, discussion forums, feedback, resources, messages, and classroom data. So we have quite a few teachers out there that are using data daily. So they're having students do some form of work at night. All right, not too much, but just enough to get some data back. And so they're able to drive their instruction daily from My Big Campus. We're going to continue that practice from within Schoology. Now, Schoology demo, so I'm actually going to take you into it, and we're going to log in, and at the end, you guys can fire away with questions or anything you have. Get into it here. So this is one of those demo accounts. So this is busy. Like it's kind of universal. Like there's hundreds of people using the same account for all kinds of different things. But I did log in ahead of time just to make sure everything was good and functional. So. So this is when you first log in, you see this activity area here. This is kind of like an update of what's going on. I know this rather well as a parent. This is what my children use in Olentangy. So I log into it and I'm able to drill down and see exactly what's going on in the classroom. It flows rather nicely. I really kind of pay attention to the reminders and the upcoming events. Things that my son or daughter need to do, and if I can provide any help with that. So on the left is your pretty typical navigation pane here. Recent activity, mastery, calendar, messages, some of the things I've already mentioned. One thing that kind of excites us about this project is something called the Mastery Gradebook, so we can align assessments and really any type of materials to the state standards, and then we can run reports against that, so we can see in real time where the students are at. And you see a nice little graph of at, above, below kind of areas, and they're color coded. So it's nice and easy for the teachers to go in and see that kind of thing. This is a kind of an admin look of things, but for students, they can go in here and they can click their courses. They get a drop down and they can see all their courses that they're in. Now, hopefully they're not as in many as this one is in, but we'll go into this English one. So this is what a typical class would look like. Teachers can customize it a little bit. Again, back to the reminders, this is all standard. And this is kind of the course and how it's laid out and different events that lay within it. There's a grade book within it. Again, the mastery gradebook that we were talking about, badges if the teacher chooses to use them, so teachers can turn those on and off. So maybe that's more appropriate for the younger ones, intermediate, elementary level, but if the high school wants to take advantage of it, they can. And then there's the analytics, digging into what the students have mastered, where they're at, so they know they can differentiate their instruction and break them into small groups or whatnot. So it's a nice tool, to kind of continue to enhance what we're doing in the classroom.
Does the gradebook integrate with our required reporting gradebook through the state and so forth yet, or is this going to be our primary gradebook and replace like PIV?
That's in discussion right now. So
It does
have that functionality,
a lot
right?
of functionality. We need to make sure that all of the functionality fits. So that's a separate conversation. But on the surface, is that accurate? It looks like it has every...
On the surface, yes, it is possible to export the grades and import them into Dazzle.
Okay, and Dazzle is the reporting thing that's behind the scenes that's required to report to. That's a huge step up. If that functionality is there, whether we implement it or not right away, I think having one system instead of multiple systems that student and parents have to go to check on things is a huge benefit if we can get that in place.
That's actually topic 2 on the leadership team agenda on Thursday.
I would assume, though, and maybe wrongly, but this would probably be something also where if the teacher wanted, she could make certain pieces of his or her grade book publishable, so that if a parent or a student wanted to check their progress, they could go through this, assuming that the teacher decided to make it available. Do you see what I'm saying? So like maybe they're up to date with the last 3 quizzes that have been given in the class, and she may keep a running record of the grade at that point based on those 3 quizzes.
Right.
That might be available as long as he decided to make it available when you log in, that you can click on that and see what your grade is. So that kind of also answers your question.
Correct, yes, they can take it a step further too, and as a parent, I can go in, I can drill down and see the actual, let's say it's a quiz, I can go down and say, oh, okay, well, this is, your formative, and they go in and, oh, okay, because my son always goes, well, that's just a formative. I'm like, well, just a formative. Okay. Let's take it all seriously, son, But I can help him. I say, okay, you missed number 2 here. Let's dig into that. Let's figure out, where your thinking went this way instead of this way. So, and then, he has the opportunity to bounce back with the summative later on. So.
And is the integration with Dazzle a conversation you have with the company, or is that something we do on our side?
And actually, that was part of the criteria when we selected them. Could they do it in one way, shape, or form? And it's more of a limitation of Dazzle than it is a limitation of the learning management systems. There are, in complete honesty, there are learning management systems out there like PowerSchool where the teacher can go and click a button and send grades to PowerSchool within Schoology. Boom, done. There's no pulling it and pushing it like we will have to with this. But
Is Dazzle statewide?
predominantly, there's really PowerSchool and Dazzle are the 2 big ones. There are other districts that do other systems on their own, like Infinite Campus, and some other products like that that they've chosen to go out. But
that's a required state level thing, so they can pull grades, or where's Dazzle come from, and what does it do for us?
Dazzle's for state reporting.
State reporting
purposes.
But PowerSchool does the same thing?
It does the same thing, yeah.
Right.
Equivalent product.
But is it LACA that decided Dazzle, or did we decide Dazzle?
Your ITC decides.
Yeah, ITC.
And so there are the 20s or so ITCs around the state, and typically districts go to the one that's closest to you, because if you need help, you want it close by. So it makes perfect sense. There are other ones, so PowerSchool, Trecca, and MEC, which are now merged. Those are 2 other ones that are relatively close.
And Power School really came into existence, what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Or has it been more?
Yeah, it replaced ESIS.
Yeah.
ESIS was a Canadian product. And people just really didn't like it very well.
It wasn't very user-friendly.
At all, at all. And Dazzle is a little quick history, but Dazzle is the progression of Poise, which is a old terminal-based system that we used to use not too long ago, in the 90s. And then they took those reports and all that and kind of made it web-based so that everybody was kind of familiar with the reports that they know today. They can go in there, run their R101 and go and put it into now Dazzle and get their report. So it made a little bit of an easier transition PD-wise.
Do we do work and like brand this internally somehow and make it, put our logos on there and things? Is that a project for sort of for the summer for it to roll out, or what's your thought on how
Correct,
to prep it?
it's already underway. They already have our graphics.
Okay.
And within probably about a week, they'll be branded with Granville. And then they'll go to Granville, or Schoology.granvilleschools.org to access it, and we'll replace the MyBig Campus links and all that. And then, there you go.
Yeah, I had a chance in the World Class Education Committee to review all three of them, and I've talked to a bunch of people like in the industry and the business about this to figure out like what happened with My Big Campus. And I think in a way it's sort of a blessing in disguise, and My Big Campus just wasn't getting business because it wasn't a good system. Right, and if you look at what an upgrade this is, right, it's sort of a disruption because we just got rolling with My Big Campus. But at the same time, this is a huge upgrade in capabilities and in ease of use, which are key things, right? So I'm really excited that we're making the transition.
So let me take credit for the failure of My Big Campus, because obviously Rob's task is to do things on the lowest budget possible. And to his credit, he found a tool that was virtually free. My Big Campus was virtually free, and that's why it became less viable. And so we will pay more for this, but
not much.
if you look at it, it's worth the investment.
Oh, for sure.
And you're right, it is a blessing in disguise because it really is a superior product.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. The My Big Campus integrated in with our web filter, which made it kind of nice to be able to buy resources for teachers. So teachers could go, I think this is an important resource for my students. And they could deem it approved and put it into My Big Campus, and then they could view it from there.
Right. I've also heard, I mean, Schoology is kind of by far the market leader in terms of public schools and K-12 systems and so forth. So again, like you said, there's 90 million users across the country, right? Which is great. They're going to be in business for a while. But I think also really importantly, there's huge opportunities for collaboration, right? And I'm not sure exactly how we take advantage of that, but there are certainly plenty of other staff members and teachers and students that have done things within this system that hopefully should be able to proliferate, and you should be able to reach out and grab, I don't know if it's lectures or resources or find best practices and things like that among the community. And I think that community is like an important feature of a lot of new software stuff. It's like how you treat it like a blog to some extent, or collaborate with other professionals, whether they be locally, which is important, as well as abroad or further afield.
Correct. We can connect with all Schoology users, other districts, or ourselves.
Great.
And we're going to take advantage of everything. And this is, Deputy 4, I don't know what it is, but Algebra 1 teachers. So we can create groups for anything we can imagine. And so the alert level, so when something new gets in there, each individual can choose whether they want to get a text message or if they want to just get emails or a summary, so they can go in and say what type of alerts that they want to get. So we can branch this out into our extracurriculars as well.
From a user's perspective, were there particular things that the committee liked about this over other, besides the integration into things that we have to report? What was it particularly that people liked about?
Well, they liked the notifications and how easy it was. That's here on the upper right-hand corner. They liked the Mastery Gradebook. They like the Mastery Gradebook, where they can go in and get a glimpse at any time of where the students are and what type of actions they need to take to keep that student growing. And then, like I said, notifications, you can go in, you can even fine tune this, to the nth degree about what type of information you want back. So some things that my big campus had, but you kind of, it definitely wasn't a one-click wonder. You had to go in and really dig in and find it. And then some things were available for students, but not for parents. So if parents want notifications, they had to go in to their student account and add those kind of things there. Why they didn't include them in both, who knows?
So one key, it seems to me, it's like really just like how much it's used and adopted. What kind of like metrics can we establish just to kind of understand where we are in that process? And I know different staff are going to take it at different speeds and different buildings and different classes, but it would seem to make sense to have some kind of easy awareness to that, to know how well we're doing and to measure ourselves against best practices and so forth. Do you have any ideas about how we kind of track how well we're using the tool?
Yes, within, well, the demo account, we won't have it, but on ours, on the left-hand side here, there is a button that says School Analytics.
Great.
So that goes in and we can dive in to see how many students are logging in at the elementary, how many are the staff logging in at the high school, so we can see graph-wise, and then we can narrow down if we need to. So we can always see that nice graph, hopefully continue to go up and up and up as it gets adopted more and more. So
great.
I think that the nice part as well is we were already planning an integration year to integrate a lot of the previous professional development topics, utilization of clear learning targets, offering of descriptive feedback, student ownership of learning, and then building high quality assessments. We were really going to have an integration year of building all of those things within the learning management system. This gives us the ability to do that and then some. And that leads to some of the, okay, this is the minimal expectation right now, and then we build capacity on another aspect, and now that's the minimal expectation.
Okay.
Right, and both Schoology Janecam has kind of had feedback on steroids for that. So if I'm a teacher and I can give video feedback back to them, so if me talk to them, I can give audio feedback. I can annotate live within the web frame, so I don't have to bring it down, annotate it, and then push it back up. I can do it all straight within there, which makes it nice and efficient for the teachers. They have iPads. The new laptops that we have out there all have writing ability within them. They're all touchscreen. So we're really trying to not limit them in any way with the tools out there.
Do you want to mention the apps?
That was kind of a piece that kind of swayed some folks. With Canvas, they actually had a couple different apps that you had to use. So we thought that could potentially be confusing to staff. And when you do use the Canvas app, some of it doesn't work. It just says coming soon. So I didn't know what coming soon meant, and they couldn't tell me. So I let it be known. But and again, I use this personally, but the Schoology app just works. Every button in there, and it corresponds to everything within the web side of things. All of the pieces and parts work. So that's it's always a big plus. We don't have any issues from that point. But and it's device independent. It doesn't matter if it's Android, Windows, or iOS.
Because it's web-based, right? So you don't have to, for example, obviously if I've got a laptop in my building, I have it on the laptop, but do I have to have the Schoology app on my phone if I'm going to be doing it, or do I just go into Safari and log on to Schoology that way?
Yeah, either way. Yeah, absolutely. You have the flexibility. You can download the app and just store your username and password on it, so you just one click and you're in. And you can take assessments. It would be rather tough on a phone, but but you could if you wanted to, or maybe just use it for communication purposes. Or you can open up Safari or any other browser that you have on there. They support all the big browsers, Chrome, Safari, Internet Explorer, Firefox.
Okay. Any other questions for Rob? He's got a lot of work ahead of him. I know he was on the administrative call today, and a lot of things to build and back ends to reconstruct. So I think the other piece was a lot of the content migration was a little bit easier with this tool. And I say easier, not on you, but for teachers than on Canvas and some of the other tools.
Yeah, Canvas was it was a challenge to make. I think I shared that with the World Class.
Yeah.
I used every personal email account I had to be able to create those accounts. So that I was a little taken back.
And I'm sure you've got lots to do to get this up and running, things like it. One thing I would suggest before the beginning of school year is some kind of beta testing to kind of how you get in and so forth, because it seems like when there's 1,000 parents that are trying to get accounts and log in at the same time, the more that's streamlined and done several times before by people that are very not knowledgeable about how to get around the system, right, that are sort of green with it, the better, right? And I would volunteer myself if you want to try and do that as a beta test. Maybe the world-class education people, right? Like go ahead and just pass it along to see how hard it is to get signed up and so forth. And if we can help facilitate things there, I'd be happy to help. So great work.
Yeah, once we have this process, we'll document and get it out there.
Brown kids tend to be guinea pigs as well.
Oh, yeah.
Our accounts are always, yes.
Great.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. A lot of good work. Next, we will transition to the 5-year forecast with Mr. Sobel.
Oh, well, I guess we don't have to do it, do we?
One of them's the title slide, so it's okay. Okay, 5-year forecast, which is going to be highly suspect because we really don't know what the state is doing, and that's causing some serious issues. Let's look first at what the forecast looks like now compared to what it looked like in October. If you look at the revenue side, the red bar is October, the blue bar is the current forecast, and you will see in each of the revenue line items there's virtually no difference from what I was forecasting back in October. Chuck, you can add in, that's just a perfect job of forecasting. On the expenditure side, again, not much difference from where we were back in October. The three areas where we had a little bit of movement on the insurance and benefits, what we've talked about a couple times over the last 6 months. We had a few more families sign up, employees sign up for family insurance and open enrollment in October than we have been anticipating. Our purchase services and supplies are both running below estimate. Big reasons there. We seem to have gotten through another year without getting sued, so our legal costs are not as high as we budgeted for. And also, we had a very sharp drop in our community school deduction. We had quite a bit fewer kids going to community schools this year than we've had in the past. And I'm actually expecting that to go down again next year, based on where the numbers are right now. And on the supplies, as many of you have filling up your cars, we have benefited from the diesel fuel prices coming down sharply from where they were a year ago. And we've actually saved, I think we're going to spend about $60,000 less on diesel fuel this year than we did last year. And so again, that's primarily what's driving the minor differences in the overall spending compared to where we were in October. This is spending for the current fiscal year. The 5-year forecast, this is a summary of the forecast. This is kind of an abbreviated version of what you'll be voting on at the end of the meeting. Where we're looking right now with the forecast in here is we're looking at peaking out at the end of next school year at about a $5 million balance. We'll be running about a $500,000 surplus next year with revenues coming in over expenditures. Right now, I'm forecasting beginning in 17, we'll start spending more than we're taking in, which is, of course, unsustainable in the long term. And at the end of the forecast period, you see about just over $2 million of cash that I'm anticipating remaining. But you can also see that we'll have run a $1.9 million deficit that year. And so clearly we're at the end of a finance cycle unless some things start breaking our way, and we're going to do some cost controls. Talk about that a little later on. The problem with this 5-year forecast is it's making an assumption about state aid that is most likely invalid because we have no idea what state aid is going to do. It's kind of a middle ground. But if you take a look at the two slides here, what this does is it compares current law, and current law is what I've essentially used to do this. So slight modifications off current law, but essentially current law, what the governor proposed and what was in the House version of the budget that passed. And what you can see is if you look at the bottom slide, you see in the 2019, the blue bar, the $2,054,000 we saw in the previous graph. Under the House, under the governor's proposal, it is my forecast that that would be $675,000. And under the House proposal, with some assumptions, it's kind of a maximum that would be at $3.1 million of fund balance. So you see, we're kind of working in a range of $2.5 million right now, which is a huge range on a $26 million budget. The Senate is currently deliberating on the budget. I had a very good meeting last week with Chairman Height, who's the chair of the Education Finance Subcommittee. I think that they may be looking at something working off of current law, which would be good for us. Even with where we are with the House, even though it looks like we have more money, there's a huge detriment to that in that we would get that money, but it may be temporary because of over $1 million of that $3 million is guaranteed, and that guarantee could go away at any point. Under the current law formula, we would not be a guaranteed district. We would be on the formula. That's a good place to be because that means, yeah, there is some risk that we could lose money if we lose kids, but there's also, if we start getting some pickup in housing and gain kids, we can gain money. If we're on the transitional aid guarantee, basically we're there and we could gain kids. We're not going to get any more money for it. All we can really do is lose money at that point with no opportunity to gain. And so that's kind of where we're working right now. It makes planning really hard to do at this point, starting thinking about what needs to happen a few years from now until the dust settles on all this. And luckily it's only 6 weeks away when the dust will have to settle on this because the budget will have to pass and we'll have a better idea where we are at that point. There is a chance I may come back in July or August and ask the board to adopt a new 5-year forecast. If my assumptions prove to be really bad as far as the outcome of the budget debate, if we end up somewhere close to where the governor's proposal is, I think it may warrant passing a new 5-year forecast because that's a very different picture than the picture that we saw back in here. It's a much different picture under the governor's scenario.
Mike, just go back to the 5-year forecast slide again.
Yeah.
Just for the people in the audience or at home, remember the funding model for Ohio schools is a levy-based funding cycle, which creates this 3 to 5 year levy request. And we passed our levy in November of 2013. We're not projecting to, in this current 5-year forecast, to be back on the ballot, given the assumptions. But that deficit spending is a function of how schools are funded by that levy structure.
Right. If you go back 2 years from before this, you'll see a big red number as we were exiting the prior levy structure. We passed the levy. Generally, you start building up balances because you don't pass it just to get enough to erase the current deficits, and you'll be back on the ballot within a year or two. And so, we're in the process now of building up our balances, which you see ending up a little over $5 million next year, a little under $5 million the year after that. And then we start coming into the tail end of the levy cycle as our debt, our spending exceeds our revenues, because essentially, and you can see this, the revenues grow very little once you're through getting the additional money from the new levy.
And I think it's also important to note that the board sized the last levy based on that current funding formula.
Correct.
So we adjusted for some of the anticipated losses in state revenue.
Correct.
With that levy request.
Yes, we anticipated the losses that the current formula would give us, not the losses that the governor's formula would give us.
That's correct.
That was not anticipated in the levy request.
Thank you.
Any questions about the general overview forecast before I go into a little bit more details? Enrollment, this is not a lot different from what we saw back in October. The one thing I have done out of the forecast is I have been putting in small increases in some of the out years for some new developments. I have taken those out for the time being because there's still some uncertainty with a lot of them, so I've taken them back out. So we are showing a little bit more falling off of enrollment than we have been in October. We are right now just at about 2,400 kids, 2,399. The projection is to lose about 100 more kids over the next 4 years based on these enrollment projections. If you take a look at the flow by grade, what you see is, the reason we're losing students is not because we have a net mobility out, net migration out. You can see, from net migration this year, we picked up 30 kids, the 43 minus 13. The problem was we had 223 kids in last year's graduating class and 132 in this year's kindergarten class. So, we were starting the year 91 kids in the hole. And that's the case, again, if you look out going forward, you see a lot of that continuing to go on, where the classes going out are significantly bigger than the kindergarten classes coming in the next year. And that's what's causing, and has been causing for the last few years, the general drop in our overall enrollment. Questions about enrollment? Okay. All right, taking a look at our revenue sources. New construction in the district is driving some of our revenue. You see the circled numbers there, and you see a couple of negative numbers in new construction here, followed by some very big positive numbers out in the next couple of years after. The negative numbers are resulting from an issue we found with the data that we get from the county. They have been, since they transferred over to their new system, this is now probably 7 or 8, 9 years ago, there has been valuation being carried on the books that is not actually there. It hasn't really affected our revenues because it's kind of built into delinquency rates. So it hasn't really affected revenues, but now that we have discovered it, they are going to correct it this year. That is what's leading to the negative numbers in there. The 2015 number, the minus 1.7, would actually be a positive number if not for that change. We will be picking up some value this year off of the Granville Inn and probably the New Middleton project over on South Cherry. Those, if they're more than half completed by January 1st of this year, which both of them probably were, we'll pick up part of the value from the construction and the renovation. We'll pick up the remainder of it in 2016, payable in 17. And then in 16, you see the higher numbers, we start picking up the rest of the value from that. Plus we'll start picking up the first of the value from the apartment development over on River Road. And then we'll pick up the last of that in 2017. Again, most of that is out here in the commercial area. Over in residential, I'm just forecasting about a 1% growth in residential new construction. Our most recent year right there, we were just under 0.8%, and it's been growing. It's been growing, if you can call 0.8% growing, but it was down around 3 or 4. It has slowly come back up, still well below historical trends, but slowly climbing up. Overall, as far as our real estate, you see a jump in value here this year. That is primarily from two things. That is the ending of the TIF at Kendall. That all came on the books. And also with the triennial update, we had a pretty big increase in agricultural value. We don't have a whole lot of agricultural value, so it's not a big increase overall, but you do have that. And then we'll have a reappraisal in 2017. I'm anticipating a 4% increase in values at the reappraisal. Sounds like a lot. Keep in mind it's a 3-year change, so it's 4% over 3 years. So really about 1.25% to 1% in the 30-year, which is not incredibly robust, especially looking at where we were prior to the recession in the housing market. Overall, real property taxes, you see the bump from 13 to 14, again from 14 to 15. That's the net levy we passed in November of 13. You see a little bit of bumps then coming forward just from a little bit of the new construction, but the revenues really, after we get past 16, really flatten out as we have taken in most of the new construction. State aid. And this is, again, this kind of personification of what we talked about earlier. The big problem with both the governor's formula and the House formula is this state share percentage. That's what is funding us. You see, under the governor's proposal, our state share percentage of fiscal 19, I'm estimating is going to be about 14%. Right now, it's 34%. The House version, it's 20%. The reason we end up with so much more money in the House version, even though we have such a big drop, is because of how they've done the guarantee, where they've held us harmless to this year for the next biennium. So essentially, they're artificially giving us money that could very easily go away beyond 2019. The scary part about this is it's assuming it's a phase-in of income factor, and in neither case is this phase-in done in 2019. In the House version, it's got 2 more years, the governor's 1 more year. I am projecting that the percentage in the final year, once the governor's is done, is going to be between 8 and 9%. And in the House, it's going to be roughly 15% once the full phase-in. And again, at that point, we're looking at anywhere without a guarantee of the funding formula saying that we should be getting somewhere between 60 and 75% less from the state than we are getting right now. Obviously, that is draconian. I testified to the Senate Education Finance Subcommittee week before last, and went through some of the arguments for why it's not it's really not good policy and not appropriate that districts should be seeing that big of a change, considering when you look going back the last 15 years, our state share percentage has bounced between 25 and 35 since the late 90s. Why all of a sudden should we be between 10 and 15? Basically they're saying everything that was happened in the last 15 years, that was all wrong, but this is right. And I think that's not a very good argument. And so hopefully we'll see some relief from this under the Senate proposal.
So Mike, the House passed version without the guarantee is worse than current law for us as well?
Without the guarantee, the House passed version would be much worse than current law for us.
But not quite as bad as the governor's
Not as
proposal.
bad. It's not as bad as the governor's. It doesn't drive us down quite as far as the governor's proposal.
Okay. So given that there's a general lack of appreciation of guarantees and we can't really count on that for long, it looks like using the assumption that we will get less money from the state rather than ever more is the best assumption going forward.
If either of these proposals pass in something close to the current form, then yeah, the House, it'll take longer to get to the losing money. The governor's is we're losing money immediately.
Okay.
And going way out to the guarantee. And that's what you see here is if you look at the three proposals and look out in 2019 based on phase-ins, current law, we would not be on a guarantee. We would be on the formula under current law. Under either the House or the governor's proposal, we would be upwards of $2.1 million onto a guarantee, meaning we'd be getting that much more funding than their formula says we should be able to get, and to give you an idea, that is almost 5 mils. That is almost equivalent to 5 mil property tax. And so if we were, already coming onto the ballot between 2018 and 20 for a normal levy, and we were concerned about that money going away, essentially to make up that full amount of money, we would have to add 5 mils onto whatever we were going to do just as part of a regular levy cycle.
All right, so if the typical inflationary levy cycle is also, 4 to 5 mils or 6 mils or whatever, and it's additional 5 mils on top of that, so we would have to be faced with a 10 plus
11 mils, something, potentially, if we felt we had to make up that full amount of the guarantee. We'd be somewhere in that, in that range. And that was part of the discussion, that I had with the Senate is, part of the argument is, well, wealthier districts, and we are wealthier districts, we have more capacity, and that is true, we have more capacity, but we're also very well tapped into that capacity. It's not like we haven't tapped into the capacity. We already have a millage rate that's 15 or 16 mils higher on residential taxpayers than the statewide average. And so, yes, we have capacity, but it's not like we have excess capacity that we're not tapping. And that, again, that was part of the point that I made in my testimony a week and a half ago. That's really the revenue side of things. Nothing, the other sources are not that big and they're pretty stable. Any questions at this point? We're going to a little bit on the expenditures and then wrap up.
Just to reiterate, the problem with being on the guarantee is that there's discussion of taking it away.
Right.
And so that's just $2 million gone.
Right. Basically, under the governor's proposal, the guarantee goes down by the equivalent of 1% of our total resources per year. Our total resources are about $26 million, so essentially we would lose $260,000 a year, and if that were continued to be phased in, beyond 2019, we would have one more year. We actually would have higher guarantees in 2020 because they're both still being phased in, and then presumably they would be phased out at $260,000 to $275,000 a year. So maybe over the next 7 years, we would gradually, death by 1,000 cuts, lose that money over that period of time, which we would only have the choice to make up for through higher local revenue. Guarantees are not a good place to be. There is a general dislike of guarantees. Some of that is valid. If you're supposed to have a working funding formula, you really shouldn't have a bunch of districts on a guarantee because that means you don't have, the formula's not really working if you've got a bunch of districts on guarantees and you can't explain why they're on guarantees.
Right.
And the same is true for caps.
The same is true for caps.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not really a working formula if you have everybody on guarantees or caps.
Correct. Okay. Over on the expenditure side, looking at personnel services, this is wages and salaries. You will see, you see the results of the cuts and the retirements that we've had in here, to the point that in 2016 we will barely be spending more on wages and salaries than we did back in 2012. It'll be very, basically 4 years later we'll be spending the same amount of money. We're spending that obviously on fewer people right now, because we did eliminate 19 staff positions between the 2012 and 2013 school years to deal with the shortfalls that we have because of the state cuts. That time. They grow steadily just based on the negotiated increases in the current budget, and there's a reservation of funds for anticipated increases in pay in 2018 and 19, which will be under a new collective bargaining agreement at that point. Insurance benefits, you can see very sharp increases here, and it's something we really need to do, that we're going to have to address. We were looking at a 17% renewal this year for a one-year renewal. We had talked about trying to do either a 6-month or an 18-month, primarily for administrative reasons, because right now we're partially on a fiscal year and partially on a calendar year with our health benefits. We want to get them all onto the same cycle. It makes more sense to be on a calendar year than a fiscal year, because that's how co-pays tend to run, and that's how some of the other, like the flexible spending accounts, are calendar years. And Medical Mutual did, much to our surprise, gave us an 18-month renewal of 18.56%, which, yeah, that looks more like higher than 17, but it's for 18 months. And it's actually a much better deal than the 17% for a year. We took the 18-month rate. It did save us $300,000 or $400,000 over the 5-year forecast period to do that. We're still going to have to address this issue going forward. We are very much at risk of hitting the Cadillac tax, which kicks in 2018. And frankly, it's an unsustainable level of growth given the revenue structure that we have to work under, with the property tax laws and what we're expecting from the state. So we're going to be addressing this. Probably we'll at least start discussions even before we go into negotiations in 2 years to deal with the long-term impacts of the healthcare.
And Mike, we're not unique. I mean, if you look at the national average, we're talking 12, 13% increases as a national norm for healthcare. So, I mean, it's just many organizations, private and public sector, having to address that particular issue. I'm assuming that a lot of forecasts have a similar rise in healthcare costs.
Yeah. Just a couple of other spending items I wanted to point out that were key changes for this year or next year. Our testing costs have gone up considerably this year. That's because, not because, even though there has been an increase in testing, primarily it's because in prior years we were able to use Race to the Top money to pay for the significant amount of money, about $35,000 to pay for testing supplies. That dried up at the end of last year, so all of that has to be paid out of the operating budget now. You can see the $60,000 savings in our fuel costs that are estimated for this year. In the forecast, I am assuming fuel costs go back to more normal where they have been. Obviously, if they stay at a reduced level, the longer they stay there, the more beneficial that will be next year of us not reaching, back to where we were last year. The community school deduction, you see the $100,000 that we did save this year from having fewer kids going. And again, I'm expecting another $30,000 of savings next year because some of the kids that we're paying for this year are already out of community schools. They've either come back here or they've gone to homeschool that we know about. So we have that. You see our legal fees. Last year we spent $48,000. This year about $36,000. So they've been going down. Last year was a little bit higher because we had negotiations, and so that this year we didn't, which is the main drop in our legal costs. We normally budget about $90,000 and hope not to need at least half of that. So again, the next year's got $90,000 built into it. Again, that's just for contingency. The autism and Peterson scholarships, which are state deductions, those went up sharply this year from last year. They more than doubled. And that's just because of an increase in the number of kids, especially on the Peterson scholarships that we have this year relative to us taking Peterson scholarships last year. And then finally, there is a set aside for next year of $90,000 for the innovation process that the district went through over the last 6 or 7 months. So there is an allocation of money set aside to help implement some of the changes that we'll be making primarily in the following year, but transitionally there'll be some changes from the innovation process. Looking just overall spending and revenue, you can see the real estate tax is continuing to make up a bigger and bigger share of our local revenue. By 2018, it's going to expect to make up about 2/3 of our local revenue, up a little bit from where we are now. Primarily the unrestricted aid is going down a couple percentage points, again, because of the assumptions we're making where we're expecting to lose aid over the next couple of years, even under the current formula. On the expenditure side, what's really noticeable is you see benefits going from 24 to 25 to 28%, and that's because of the estimated growth in healthcare costs are outstripping the amount of money we're even paying on salaries. That's why the salary percentage is going down, not because we're paying less in salaries, but because the benefits are just going up at such a much faster rate than the salaries are. If we look at our cash flow through the end of next fiscal year, the green line are the guidelines that the board passed earlier this year. And the projection is for each year over the next year that we will, or each month rather over the next year, we will stay above the cash balance policy or cash balance guideline level. That's a good thing. I expect that will be the case in 2017 as well, that we will stay above there. We'll start probably running into issues in 2018 as that fund balance keeps moving down. Final thing I want to talk about, and then I will finish. I just want to do a recap of the bond refunding that we concluded about a month ago. The refunding is saving us about $3.5 million in interest costs over a 15-year period. You see, most of that doesn't begin until out here in 2018 and 19 because of the way that we had to structure it, because of the type of refunding we did. That works out to about a $2.9 million present value savings and a return of just barely under 10%, which is really 2 to 3 times the norm for doing these. And it turns out it's a good thing we did the refunding the way we did it, because interest rates literally starting the day that we did the bond sale have been going up and now as of today about 31 basis points from where we were when we concluded the bond sale. And the savings point from where we were then to not having done it was between 25 and 30. So essentially, if interest rates stay the same now for the next 4 months, we'll have ended up in the same place we did when we did the refunding when we had done it. If they go up any more, we'll have net saved ourselves additional money by having done the refunding back at the end of April rather than waiting until the middle of August, which is when we would have had to wait till to do it under a normal type refunding.
Great work, thank you. Yeah, $3.5 million is a lot, even over 15 years. That's a big deal.
It is.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, just to run, this money cannot offset the shortfalls in the operating budget. We cannot use the savings in this money to pay salaries or anything like that. What it should mean is when we get out to this point, when the savings are full, it should allow us to reduce millage rates by about $0.5 million, which again is really about 3 times the norm for this type of refunding. And usually it's 1/10 to 15/100ths of a mil. We actually got a full $0.5 million of savings out of the refunding when we did it.
Great, thank you.
Questions? Unfortunately, I haven't delayed long enough for us to get here. I can keep babbling if you want.
No,
All right,
please.
We have we're good.
Questions?
Always do your best, but we're good.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
We still get the financial.
We really,
from him, so.
you know, we do have, I would say, one of the best treasurers in the state of Ohio. The fact that a lot of the legislature turns to Mike to try and decipher what they've done.
To understand their own laws.
To understand their own creations is, you know, very frightening, but also reassuring that he's also in charge of our finances. So he does a fantastic job, and I think he really does have a command of the bigger picture, which is very helpful when you have people that don't understand the big picture making decisions. So kudos.
Thank you.
Tanya, come on up.
Hello.
Tanya Sherburn's going to give us a little bit of an update on HeartSafe.
Good evening. I just wanted to provide an update for you on our HeartSafe accreditation. The HeartSafe accreditation is provided by the SADS Foundation and the Snyder Community Heart Watch. The mission of HSSA, which is the HeartSafe Schools accreditation, is to increase the awareness of cardiac arrest and prevent death from sudden cardiac arrest. As mentioned in the recent Momentum and Blue Ace News, we have been recognized as the first district or school in Lincoln County to receive this accreditation. Early this school year, a team was formed to work on this mission. This was spearheaded by two of our parents, Summer Thagard and Leanne Priano. I always say her name wrong. February, Mr. Brown honored the committee for their work at the board meeting. And in late April, we completed the application process and learned late last week that we received accreditation. As a part of the application process, we had to send home self-risk assessments to every student to help determine their risk for sudden cardiac arrest. We also created a well-organized care plans for all of our students that have known cardiac diagnosis. We conducted 3 emergency medical drills in each building. We were fortunate to coordinate with our fire department on these drills so that we could practice the transition of patient care as well. Last year, the district ensured that the AEDs were available and located in appropriate areas in all of our buildings. And we ensured that we had training for at least one member of the school staff for CPR to every 50 students that we have enrolled. And next year, we will actually be training everyone in the school district. We've continued to offer CPR training to students as a part of their curriculum. And finally, we have provided educational materials on sudden cardiac arrest to staff, coaches, parents, and students. The team is very proud of our accomplishments. We believe that our schools are much better equipped to deal with medical emergencies and consequently safer for our students and community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I want to thank you and the parents who spearheaded the effort, but also, you know, the coordination across the schools and the fire department, and, you know, it's a great thing that we were able to get this accreditation and work together to do it. So
thank you.
I'm happy that we've come this far. So and thanks for your leadership in doing that. So
my pleasure.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, what?
Have you heard from Russ?
I have, let me check. I put it on silent.
Is that on purpose?
Yes. 7:30 just landed.
Because we could.
We'll head for a meeting.
Yeah, we could do board reports first.
Yeah.
We'll do that first, and then we can have public comment, and then we can see, because I know he wanted to be here for the
Yes.
discussion.
So he's coming for sure?
Yes.
Okay.
He is coming.
Okay. So why don't we do board reports first?
Okay. That means you
That means
start.
me. That means me.
Yes.
Just a few highlights of what's happening at CTEC these days. Our honors assembly is on Friday, which is basically their graduation, and they have one of the larger classes they've had in a while, upwards of 280 or so students, I think. So that's always fun, and so in June I'll report on where they're going and the kinds of scholarships they've received. And I can't remember if I said this last month or not, because I kind of cut things short since we long discussion, that 17 CTEC students who competed at the state level, Health Occupation Students Association, that's HOSA, that's their Association for Health Occupations, competed at the state level, and 17 of them are going to California, including one Granville student. And she will be, from the Fire Management Safety Program, will be competing in the Emergency Medical Technician Competition. So a special congratulations to Emily Appelt, who will be representing Granville in California this summer. They had their dental pinning ceremony last week, which I attended, and 19 students. It's kind of like their, I want to say almost like their honor society, and they get pinned, and so there's 19 of them who are going on to work and college as well, so different combinations of post-secondary experience. And it's one of the larger classes that they've had in a while, so their enrollment seemed to be going up across the board in lots of programs. I just wanted to, we've been talking about College Credit Plus here a little bit, and how that might affect us. It has an even larger effect on CTEC. They have 451 students who are currently taking college credits. And right now the programs that they have, they spend between, over the last 4 years have spent between $2,000 and $20,000. Basically, they hire a person to work at CTEC. They get certified by an accrediting college, but they're a CTEC employee. Under College Credit Plus, they have to pay for that employee, but then $40 per credit for the students, even though they're not going anywhere.
Who do they pay that to?
The accrediting college. So if it's COTC that accredits the teacher, they're paying $40 a credit to COTC.
They're funding the crediting university or college.
So we're funneling.
But the teacher is at CTEC, and the university or college has no expenses related to it?
They are currently going to spend $54,000 more. I just had a conversation with Joyce.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, $54,000 for the exact same thing that they're providing right now.
Right.
But that 54 is going to go to an institution of higher education.
Right, so taxpayer money funneling through CTEC to an institute of higher education.
Do they get college credit now for it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though they're not?
Same as before.
Yes, same exact thing.
Same exact thing, but they're also paying for the employee as well,
Mhm.
still, under the program, so.
And is that past legislation, or is that proposed?
It is. It is
We were going to be
passed.
faced with that as well, but
We
this
are
one-
faced with that.
Right, okay.
They have 451 students taking about 1,300 college credits, so.
The good news is for us is a lot of our students choose AP as their way to earn college credit. And AP is really a carve-out of College Credit Plus. What is interesting and what we've been talking about is currently higher ed does get an ADM count for their enrollment, okay? So they will be getting that money plus our portion of ADM plus an administrative fee. So this is really just taking money from K-12 and funneling it to higher ed. And the committee that established College Credit Plus, of the 20, 17 were from higher ed. 3 were from K-12. So it's important to be at the table when decisions are being made, because otherwise you are going to be dealing with the fallout of that. So
Dr. Mulaney is actively involved.
She is.
Trying to change this program.
Yes.
It's cost, because again, they didn't necessarily think about what the cost was to every different type of district, I don't think, when they implemented this.
Yes.
The other interesting discussion we had at our last meeting is about calamity days, and I don't know if she talked to you about this at all, but it's really interesting. She was proposing, that she being Dr. Mulaney, proposing building in specific days into the calendar for calamity days, rather than doing, the bags, the blizzard bags, thank you. And so that, again, to build in actual classroom instruction time, and then if you don't actually need to take that calamity day, then it's a day off for students and an in-service day for teachers. So, I mean, you might start your school year earlier or end it later to build in those days, but I just thought that was an interesting proposal to do that rather than, online assignments, which I guess in some ways it's also harder to do online assignments for the career tech classes. But I just thought that was an interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, so I can
proposal.
ask questions about that.
Proposal, yeah, just ask them about. So then the students sometimes get days off that they're not expecting if we don't have to take the calamity days. But again, it's building, and it's earlier in the year, so you're building in classroom time instead of online assignments. And then finally, as part of the innovation process, Jeff and Ryan and Matt Durst have been in conversations with CTEC about opportunities that our students might be able to take advantage of in meeting some of the goals of the innovation process that we've outlined. And so looking for ways that, some students, we might be able to collaborate on certain kinds of classes that would benefit our students. And that's in the very early stages of discussion and wouldn't really take place until 2016-17, but I thought it was an exciting development that was happening between our two institutions.
I would like to say that I think CTEC, when you think of the old JVS, Joint Vocational Schools, CTEC is not that. It really is a high caliber educational environment for all students of Licking County. I think they do a fantastic job. So we're lucky to have them in our backyard, and we like to collaborate as much as possible with them.
I must say, as an update, I also had a chance to visit, first time I'd been there, and toured around myself, and it's a fantastic facility, right? The resources that they have for equipment and for classrooms, and the staff that they have is just so relevantly trained in the things that they're doing, that it's fantastic experiences. And I think, like you said, that's just going to play more into, like, how can we collaborate closer? Because there's so many things that they have that we could take advantage of. But I think it's going to require a little bit of a rethink of how we work together, right? Because I think we have a lot to offer students in terms of the academic side, right? And if they have opportunities on the practical side or the high-tech side or the career side, I think there's ways to blend that model. And I sense there's a real opening to the willingness to do that. And that's encouraging that I've kind of felt that. I think that what it will also take, though, really is sort of a cultural change in the mindset of how many families think about them, right? Because like you said, I think many people don't appreciate what they have there, right? And think it's just kind of a VOTEC center, right? But actually, I would love that. If you have a kid that wants to do engineering, they should definitely go there. If you have a kid that wants to do medicine, what great opportunities there are there for that, right? So it's not just kind of career prep. It's really, I think, can be a great supplement or augment to our academic education. And I sense there's a real opening. And thanks to, I know Mike met with our treasurer recently. Jeff, I know you're in touch with them regularly. Ryan and Matt, thanks very much for your continuing to think way outside the box in terms of how we can collaborate there. The financial situation is really interesting in that they think they get a lot of traction, they get a lot of funding, right? And so that's what enables them to have these fantastic facilities. And if we can take advantage of those, the more power, I think it's just going to create a better education for our kids.
I think really the open conversation really started when ODE and the governor's office really started talking about college and career ready. And so to give them, I know I bang on them a lot, so I'm trying to give them a positive here that really started the conversation of being able to be a little bit more flexible.
Great.
So,
yeah. Good.
Good.
Yep. Legislative update? Do you want me to just give a brief update? Okay.
I do.
Last week, the House passed House Bill 74, which is really the testing bill for next year. I've been working with Chairman Hayes on that bill. Has several provisions that we advocated for, some additional ones that kind of go in just because they have to. That is going to the Senate now and will probably become the vehicle for the Senate Educational Advisory Committee that Peggy Lehner has formed as well. So that will probably go through a revision process. We do have people on that committee as well. So at some point, both committees will merge and have significant conversation. I will go on the record that they don't know what our assessment system will be for next year. And so our staff is kind of in limbo. Our administration is in limbo. And we are trying to determine okay, if they go this direction, how do we respond? If they go this direction, how do we respond? But in House Bill 74, beyond 16 park assessments are barred from being utilized. So whether that survives the Senate is up to them. But it is something that is currently in the passed House version of 74. So really, 74 and 64 are the big pieces of legislation, 64 being the budget, 74 being the state assessment system.
Yeah, and the plan for the budget is the Senate Finance Committee will have a substitute the week of June 8th. So it's still a couple weeks before we're going to see what the Senate has done, and then they're going to be on a very tight time frame to get the bill out of the Senate, in the conference committee, out of the conference committee, and on the governor's desk with, I think by June 25th or 26th is what they're aiming for. So they have a very tight window to operate in. So it's going to be hard to affect things once the substitute version, the Senate, comes into the Senate.
So speak now or further hold your peace?
That's correct.
The good thing on the 74, though, or at least on the philosophy on the testing, is that I think everybody agrees there's too much.
Yes.
And so there will be less. What it is, we don't know, but there will certainly be less than what we experienced this year. So that's a good thing.
And it's been an educational process for the General Assembly about what type of assessments drive educational decision-making. And they recognize now that accountability should not be driving the educational benefit to children, but that, teachers should be driving that conversation.
Ooh.
So we're getting somewhere. It just might take a little bit longer.
Good work. Thanks for all your representation through this process.
Thank you. Thank you.
Katie, did you have an update?
I'm going to defer to Mike if did you get the large mass of votes counted this evening? I'm sure you were buried under them.
I haven't had time to count both of them.
Okay, good. Well, when you get to that, let us know.
Yes. The new Granville Community Authority board election was this evening before the board meeting. Yes, we did have a turnout of two. Two of the four people on the ballot did come and vote. There were 4 open slots and 4 people, so the only turnover is Katie did not run for re-election on the board, and Joe Rutherford, who is a resident over at, obviously, Park House, they have to be, did run for the board, so that happened. And then the 2 meetings a year, the second meeting of the year is next Wednesday. It will be in the evening. I had to move it to 7 o'clock in the evening because I have jury duty next week and wasn't sure I could get here by 5:30. And they will be adopting the budget for the year and reapplying the New Granville Community Authority charge, the special assessment charges. Those are the 2 main purposes of the meeting next week.
So there were 4 open spots or 2 open spots?
There were 4 open spots. Well,
so if somebody
2
doesn't get any
people
votes?
ran again who are currently
3 of the 4
ran again, and then I didn't, and the new person took.
But no,
if you didn't get any votes, are you still elected?
Luckily they got
4
votes.
people. You can vote for 4 people, I trust, because there's 4.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
The 2 people voted for 4 people. Oh,
Yeah.
Because you can just vote for the
I
whole
thought you
slate.
said they voted for themselves.
No, they did vote for themselves, but I believe they also voted for the others.
To count those, to find out, to count those votes.
Yeah, I haven't actually opened the ballot box yet.
That has to be the other meeting that is even more highly attended than our board meetings.
Yes, because those are public meetings, but we have never
had an audience. At this point, I'm going to open up the
Thomas
meeting.
Granville
Oh, I'm
Education
sorry.
Foundation.
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say a quick update on
Sorry,
Granville.
absolutely. I'm
GEF.
sorry. My fault totally.
Meets this Thursday, and I don't have a lot of official updates other than to say that there is a spring grant cycle that was very nicely funded. I think they're funding like something on the order of 5 of the 7 grant requests they got for around $10,000.
$11,000.
$11,000 in a spring cycle, which is a huge contribution, so that's fantastic. The GEF does have seats available moving forward for community members to step up and help out, including the position of treasurer, which they're seeking someone that has some basic capabilities in running software in Windows or accounting if possible. So if there's anybody you know that's passionate about supporting the schools and you could help pass along the word, it would be appreciated.
How many board seats? Do you know?
They have a pretty large board.
4.
And there are 4 open.
Yeah.
And how many total on the board?
I think there are 11 positions. It's a large board. And there are some permanent members, like myself, but I'm non-voting. Ryan's non-voting, but we have to attend every meeting. So we get to listen a lot.
Why you make the big bucks.
That's right.
So they're doing well.
Yes.
And will we know what the grants were that got funded?
Yeah, so they officially get approved this Thursday, so
Okay.
I can come back with a list and talk about the teachers and those kinds of things next time.
Excellent. That's great. Thanks. Sorry to
No problem.
left you off.
No, it's a quickie.
So at this point, I'm going to open up the meeting to public comments. If anybody would like to make a public comment or to address the board, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you can speak for up to 3 to 5 minutes. Nope? Okay.
We can start going to the action agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with the action agenda then.
Okay. Action item 10.01 is we have 2 overnight field trips. One is to Washington, D.C. for the FCCLA conference, and the other is Jennifer Mosquera taking our Spanish students to Costa Rica.
So moved. Second.
Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I just was curious, the Costa Rica trip, is that just a regular study trip, or is that part of the global?
No, that is not part of the global studies. That is more a cultural trip than
She's done this before.
leadership. Yeah.
This is the second or third year?
Second trip to Costa Rica.
Okay.
There was an exchange one year. We had
Right.
Costa Rican students come here, and then they went there, and now we're going back there.
You know how many students it is?
Looking to Ryan.
Yeah. I believe it's
Ryan looking
11
back.
students. 11 or 12? Yeah, yeah,
Great.
Great.
yeah.
Fantastic experience.
And they're all high school students?
They are all high school students, and they, the parents pay for those trips.
Take the roll, please.
Ms. Dietz.
Aye.
Dr. Rantel.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Corman.
Aye.
Okay, next, 10.02, we have a year leave of absence for one of our teachers.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? Nope. Take the roll, please.
Ms. Dietz.
Aye.
Dr. Rantel.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Corman.
Aye.
What I'd like to say is we're glad to have Mrs. Borchers come back to us after her leave. We're very excited to have her back. .03, we have a technology aid for the 15-16 school year. This is a replacement of a position that was left mid-year.
Motion?
So moved. I'm going to recuse myself from
Yeah.
this
I'll
one.
second.
'Cause I know this person personally. So.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Great.
Okay, good. Not in a bad way, in a good way, but
Yeah.
she's a colleague of mine and also a friend. So.
Very good.
Very good.
Take the roll, please.
Ms. Dietz.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Rantel. I still have to call it, though.
Abstaining.
Right. Dr. Corman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And just as a side note, when Beth came in to interview, I realized that I actually taught her son in 3rd grade, and he is now 27 years old and a marketing exec for the Baltimore Ravens, which made me feel really old. But I'm glad that his third grade teacher had an impact on him. However, I am a serious Browns fan, so that was a little painful, just saying. Side commentary for the record.
And she's a wonderful person,
Yes,
so
yes.
I will say that side comment too.
Yes, we are very excited to have her.
And this is at
GIS, yes.
So what could you have done differently in third grade to set him on the program?
A little bit more brainwashing. A little bit more brainwashing. All right. 10.04 is the approval of the resolution for membership to the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Questions? Take the roll, please.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Okay. 10.05 is the list of the 2014-15 graduates of Granville
So moved.
High School.
Don't you have to recuse yourself?
All right. So
Second.
second.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations to the graduating class, very exciting, and to
Yes.
Eric Miller, your son, so very
Yeah.
exciting.
Hope he's on the list.
Yeah, he's on the list.
And-
I signed it, so, yeah.
Yes.
I almost wanted to get you to like add an extra little note, but, I did, you know, a little smiley face or something. Anyway, any other
Great.
comments or questions? Take the roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
You thought I was going to say something, didn't you? You look at me like,
No, I didn't. I was just giving you the opportunity.
Graduation is May 31st, so if anybody is interested in coming to the Mitchell Center at 2 o'clock,
oh, it's 2. I put 1 in my.
yes, no, leave it at 1. You're supposed to be there
Be there
at 1.
okay. That's what I remember, so.
Yeah,
We are,
just,
Yeah.
just to be sure.
just to be sure.
So we can
Remember
actually get
that
a
parking
Yes,
dance
parking
we have to
issues.
do and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Do we get to request who we want to give our?
Yes, I'm sure that will come out probably this week.
What request, what did you say?
Who you-
want to give-
Oh.
If there's anybody we would like to
Give their diploma to.
give their diploma.
Yeah. All right, 10.06 is the lack of service level agreement for the 15-16 school year. Rob mentioned LACA being our service provider. LACA does a very nice job for us. They've actually grown a little bit over the last 2 years, and that has lowered our cost. This year we'll see a slight increase, but it's nominal. But they do tend to provide pretty decent services, especially in the area of the financial management systems.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? No? Take the roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Okay, next item, 10.07, is the weight room supervision contract. This is to fill in until a new contract can be reestablished July 1 for our weight room.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Okay, next item, 10.08, are the school fees for each of our 4 buildings. Most of the fees, if there is an increase, are inflationary increases based on the products that we're purchasing that are consumable in nature and returned to the parents at the end of the year. So,
So moved.
Second? And I might be kind of one of the most unpopular parents to suggest that at some point, I think this is an area that we need to look at to actually increase school fees as we think about the general context of funding our schools, right? Because more levies are going to become less popular around the general public, but we have a very supportive parent group. So I hate to like leverage that or tap into that anymore, but I think that, you know, in the context of how schools are funded, this is one, along with things like athletic participation fees, that we're going to need to seriously evaluate in the future. So it's great that our districts and the voters have been supportive, but this might be an avenue in the future we need to look into more.
And by athletic, you mean extracurricular?
Extracurricular,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
absolutely.
These are all academic-related
Yes.
fees, right? So
Correct.
school fees related to extracurriculars would be a separate
That would be
line
correct.
item. Okay.
Yes.
Take the roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Thank you. 10.09 are the Leaders for Learning grants. I'll wait
So
for,
moved.
thank you.
Second?
The Licking County Foundation awards a teacher each year with the Leaders for Learning grant or award, and once they are given that award, they are able to apply annually for a $500 grant. So Pam Bice and Lori Fender have applied. They are previous winners, and they both have grants to purchase materials for their classrooms.
Great.
Any questions? Take the roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Sorry.
The next item it takes some explanation. The athletic handbook for the 2015-16 school year.
So moved?
Second.
Okay. So what is currently provided as the attachment is incorrect. It is supposed to be the regular update with just adjustments in annual dates. Currently, there's the substance abuse policy that we're going to talk about above. The change that was recommended from the committee is in that. We are not recommending that at this time. So it's just the standard athletic handbook that was in place last year with changes of dates.
And the substance use policy as it stands.
As it stands currently.
Currently.
At 10%.
Yeah, but, and if we did make
For
a
first.
policy decision about changes, it could be updated and
Updated
processed as
in
necessary.
June or July.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry for that confusion.
Any questions? Take the roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Thank you. 10.11 or 10.11, we have the approval of the resolution for the Granville High School gym floor.
It's also to waive.
We need a motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the?
So
motion?
moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right.
Okay.
So explanation on this. This is really to waive the bidding process for, to exceed the $25,000 threshold. We are able to waive that because it was due to calamity or damage related to an insurance claim. We anticipate that the cost will be close to $155,000, up to $155,000 to replace the gym floor, which, pending your approval, will start tomorrow.
And all but 5,000 of that will be paid by insurance. 5,000 is our deductible.
When was the last time it was redone?
4 years ago.
This is because of the sprinkler break.
Water
and all the
damage,
water
yeah.
damage.
No, I remember.
Yeah.
Indoor.
What's that?
Softball.
Indoor softball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We are addressing changes to not only what is happening, but also the infrastructure that supports our sprinkler system.
To prevent this in the future.
To prevent this from happening in the future. Is that accurate, Ms. Sherburne?
very accurate.
Yes, thank you.
So, so when, it doesn't seem like this is going to impact us financially, whether we single bid it or double bid it, because we've got just the deductible that we're paying. But like, when did we find out about this, and why did we not get a couple bids anyway?
Basically, what has happened is, we had a company coming in helping try to dry out the floor and seeing if any of it was going to be salvageable or not. And basically, the determination was no, it was not. And the main reason for waiving the bidding is because of the time constraint.
Right.
That we want to, we need the floor in place before school year starts again.
August 1, actually.
Yeah.
And the other issue is the insurance agent had to verify and also come out, view the floor, make their claim assessment as well. So that takes a little time. Tanya, do you want to?
Yeah, the only other thing I'd like to add is that we had to wait a length of time to try to dry it out as much as we could to see what the damage was actually going to be. And so that's the point that we were at. And that took
Okay.
the length of time that we went to wait.
It seems like it actually got worse, right?
It
When I
did.
first went
Well,
in there, I
that's
was like,
when it
oh, this
works,
is not
is
too
when it
bad.
dries.
There's like
Yes.
mountains in there now, so, yeah, it has to happen. So thanks for that
Despite Ms.
explanation.
Sormon's quick acting, because she was there, but,
Oh, yes.
With
Yes.
mops and buckets?
Yes, yes.
Trying your best.
so,
Thank you for trying.
The former resolution is in the back of your packet,
Yes,
if you
that's
wanted to
fine.
read it, so.
Okay, that explains it better for me, though.
Yeah. But so we're approving the resolution to waive.
Correct.
bidding.
And, well, and
And
so
to
to
spend
waive it
money.
and to award
Award it
the
to,
contract, both.
to final floor.
correct.
Any other
Do you
questions?
want, no. Choose it doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Can never say never.
Take the roll,
but
please.
I hope
Dr.
never
Rentel.
again.
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Cornman?
Aye. Just also note that it's it's complying with the Ohio Revised Code in terms of the urgency.
Yes,
Yeah.
necessity and
Necessity.
urgency.
Yeah, that's one of
Yeah.
the two valid reasons for waiving the competitive bidding that's allowed within the revised code.
Okay, thanks.
The next item, 11.01, is the consent agenda A through C12 with one amendment. The amendment is to remove Polly Gorge from the continuing contract list because she is resigning above her position. I'll talk a little bit about that once I get the motion and second.
Second?
Amy. Okay, so we have quite a list of consent agenda items. We have several donations, including Archery, Watercress Run, which they provided the prescribed burn for the Granville
Oh, okay.
Intermediate School.
He's the consultant.